Thank you for joining us on this very special conference, all about the paradigm shift, the changing times in the here and the now. Michelle, what's your take on the paradigm shift? What's happening to the world, to us? How can people cope with this? What can people do?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me here and to share. And it's just the perfect time for this kind of conference because there is so much shifting that's happening. Just to give an overview, we used to have major shifting every 2 to 3 years. Now we're having what we call gateway portals of light every few months, okay, November through January. And that is, think of like an aperture, in a camera. What's happening is there's more light coming on the planet and it's holding it in the place where we need to shift, we need to grow, we need to move more into unity consciousness and less out of feeling separate. So what is the paradigm shift? A lot of people ask, what's this new paradigm that we're all co-creating? It's moving from an old game or an old model. Now, I work with the oversouls and the spiritual hierarchy and obviously spirit as well, but with the parts of us that are actually initiating this ascension and change into the new paradigm and playing a new game. The old game, the old paradigm, if you look at it, was based a lot, not so much on contrast or complement, but opposition. It was based on competition. It was based on scarcity. It was based on separation. So in truth, we separate out, when we go back, when we leave our body and we go back into the all that is, we're subsumed into the all that is, then we extend out vibrationally, we become, not even before thought, we're a complex of vibrational frequencies that then a soul is created that holds that design or matrix. I know that has a bad connotation these days. I don't know why, because when you look it up in the dictionary, it's just a form or a design. So what happened in the old paradigm or the old game, people thought they were separate on their own. That's why a lot of fear against the other. And so the whole game, instead about separating out and being in your uniqueness and your unique gifts, was about being a separate individual, a separate being, separate from spirit, separate from source energies, separate from each other. Now what happened around the late 80s, a harmonic convergence, we all, as the awareness of the all that is, that we are the innate intelligence of the universe, is co-creating this whole game. We created the game. We're just playing a different game now. And some people have, I know other people talked about this. I won't necessarily get caught in the loops of some people not wanting to release the game because there's a lot of power over and people feeling underpowered. But the bottom line is the majority of consciousness now, the majority of beings, incarnate and not incarnate, are focused on getting back into the understanding that we're separated out, but we're not separate. So what happened during the harmonic convergence was the energy shifted. And some people say it was even before the 80s. They say it was in the 60s. The energy shifted to converge, to harmonize, to move more into unity consciousness and to live more from that place, recognizing we're not separate beings or entities. We're all from the same source, but we separate out with our uniqueness. Now what happened in 2005, we went into what's called the converging flow of this awakening. So out of the harmonic convergence, there became this awakenings. And that's why my podcast is Awakenings with Michelle Lachey. It's this succession of awakenings, getting more and more awake, more and more conscious, more and more aware, more and more interconnectedness, feeling the love, and it's not woo-woo, it's the substance of what we are. Now, what happened in the converging flow, everything happens at once. It's a convergence of the breaking down, of the building up, of the fighting, and you could see it even got exacerbated around 2011, 2012, where people started being put into categories energetically, and that all has to do with resonance. We're as soul beings, we operate by resonance, not by what we think we should do. That's why the old paradigm was so limiting. And by the way, what I understand from spirit and as well as my guides, we went as far as we could feeling separate or separating out. We were on the verge of extinction. That's not going to happen now. But if we stayed with that old game of being separate in the conflict and the fighting and not connecting in unity consciousness, we had nowhere else to go, but basically through more war and blowing ourselves up. So there is right now, there is a tug of war between the old paradigm and the new paradigm. And I think I heard your guest, one of the presenters, I believe Alexandra, saying a time for decisions. Oh, and I got goosebumps. Yeah, you can't play the middle. And that's the whole thing. That's why even on in a psychological level, this was never, it was an experiment, but it's not healthy to not celebrate who you are. So people are going to have to decide how am I, how do I express myself, and where do I belong? And that doesn't come from the mind, it comes from resonance. We get guided there. We get nudged there energetically. We get guided there intuitively. So I do see a lot of, unfortunately, you know, people in the world, and especially even healers, that are trying to play this old game, still holding on, knowing that they need to move forward into the new way of playing, which is much more soul connected. It's what we call soul aligned. So what's happening now, we're in the root awakening, and there's many awakenings. We're like flower. We become more and more awake, aware, which brings more consciousness, which we are in the Aquarian age, right? The age of light. What is light? It's information. It's love, light, wisdom. So what we're finding is information, I-N, formation. Information is actually energetic. It's actually frequency. It's wavelength and frequency, and creates form. So from that energetic matrix that we all are, and everything has a design or a seed, there's information in that, and then it begins to take shape and form. It begins to have a design, whether it's a person, a plant, a tree, you know, a system of thought. Everything is encoded with the information for it to thrive and flourish, and also for it to abort or stop, just like software does, when it no longer works, when it's no longer applicable, or it needs to be updated. So that's part of what's happening with a lot of people right now, is they're in a lot of confusion because their old programs are not, you know, whatever they've been encoded is not working on a relationship level, relating pattern level, or even with their ideas of who and what they are. The old is no longer working. So we are in this kind of middle ground, if you will, this bridge to the new. And what is this new? It's creating a whole new game, a whole way of being that is dependent, again, on the soul, is going back to being soul connected and soul aligned and living soul connected. So living less and less and less from the ego personality. And I'm a therapist, so yes, the ego has, from an inner psyche standpoint, and Lana, of course, you would know that, it has a function, you know, mentally, and you know, even on an organ level for the brain. It's, you know, even if you look at the instinctual, right, brain, the medulla oblongata, where the instincts are. My understanding, though, as we ascend more, which means moving simply out of the extreme polarity plane, we'll always have duality here because there's electrical, magnetic, right? You need that. But my understanding is that we're living, as we do ascend and living more in the truth and living more transparent and living more seamlessly with the energy and the soul coming through and the soul design and the soul expression, that we will have less and less fear, and eventually the ego, there will not be. And that's what scares people. They're getting that. There will be no more ego. We need the ego now to keep the status quo and to help us feel safe. But when you're really living what I call spirit-led and soul-fueled, you have no pre-thought or forethought. You're so in the moment that the impressions of spirit energetically are coming through you, and what the messages from your soul, which is the truth of who you are, your essence, comes through. So it is really a much different game. If you look at it, it's a much different game than any of us have ever played. Many of us know of it from other dimensions, other planetary connections, but to the extent that we're going to be living it on the earth plane has never been done before. Amazing, right?
That is very exciting.
It's exciting.
I wonder, Michelle, if the ego ceases to exist, which of course my understanding is the ego is an illusion, does that not actually stop the game, perhaps?
Yes, how we played it, absolutely. If you think of psychologically, or even in Buddhist psychology, the ego, if you think of, id, ego, and superego, that is the part of you. Actually, when people are taking courses, they're updating the ego. Most people are updating the ego. They're making it healthier, but they're not yet getting to the soul level. They're not yet getting to, because you can't really articulate what's coming at the soul level. You can't really, and that's why you say the game is over. Absolutely. Because there won't be the competition. There won't be the other. There will be reflections of the same. So there's nothing to keep, a status quo about. There is no status quo. It's constant change. I mean, that's spirit, what is it? It just changes, what consciousness is, just changes shape and form. So we are consciousness made manifest. So consciousness in one level is what it is, but the forms that it takes change, over time and beyond time, actually, even. So yes, that's a very good point. That ends the game. And that's why I feel, that's why there's such a fight right now on an ego level. When you look at religion, you look at the politics, you look at, social media or mass media of icons, whatever those icons are, whether they're spiritual or sports or rock groups or bands or any kind, anybody that's in that iconic place, that is the ego, and that creates the separation. So yes, you're so right. That does, in a huge way, change the game. And that is also why there is this extreme of polarity of those that are going more into the truth of that we're all interconnected, and that those that are fighting that, and of course they're fighting that in a way that is strengthening their ego. So really good point. Really good point. Oops, you're muted. I think they muted you.
Giving up the ego allows you to gain a freedom, an amazing freedom to just connect with the divine.
Yes. One of my teachers described it as, and I agree, it's like when you're swimming and you're swimming along the side of the pool, or you swim out to shore. There's let's say you're, in the sea or the lake, and you swim out and there's nothing to hold on to. And that's what the ego has been. It's something to hold on to. It's a perception, especially the false ego, the constructed ego. It's what has seemed to, get people accepted or get acclaim, or what needs to get validated. But when you're living without that, and this is what being, soul fueled is and spirit led, is that you have no pre-thought. You're living beyond linear time. You're living more from synchronistic timing, which puts you in that condition to meet the magical helpers to help you. You don't know where the help is coming from, or the connection, or the next whatever. You just show up. And of course, we're not taught to do that. And that's why right now there's a lot of emotional angst right now. You see it getting played out politically, ecologically, environmentally, economically. You're seeing this angst, this interplay. And of course, a lot of people, especially empaths, are feeling, everybody. I get people that are not necessarily on a spiritual path or even looking in that, and they're feeling this angst. They're feeling the shadow material that is so up. And of course, they're feeling it to clear it in themselves. That's a big part of it. It has to be cleared. What we have right now on the planet is due to what we have astrally. And of course, the astral plane and astral body corresponds to the emotional body. So the more people can get clear and clear those limiting relating patterns that are not the truth, that are keeping one, especially if in a victim stance or feeling powered over. Because the new paradigm is about being not just empowered, but recognizing that we created the game also, that you can't have it both ways. You can't come from oneness and say, oh, but we didn't do this. So to some level, for some people it's a lot, some people it's a little. There's something in everyone's consciousness and the total consciousness that has kept this perpetuating. So just like all of nature, once these lower level or density or lower dense vibrational frequency outpicturing, I'd say, our creations or manifestations are no longer needed to live through, when there's that tipping point has been reached where it's not needed, it'll be extinct. It will be no more. And so that's why it's so important right now. I do my own inner work. I still get tripped up by patterns. Everybody, and that's another thing I want to share with everyone. What seems to be imperfection, or if you get angry or you're sad or you're upset, that doesn't have anything to do with your consciousness. It's what's being played out on the earth plane. Too many people think, oh, I'm still working on this, or something wrong with me, or I'm not that conscious. No, it's the parameters of this earth plane. Until we change it within ourselves, within each other, and within the template that's overlaid, the matrix as some call it, it will still play out, and it will find that place within you where it plays out. So the best thing that people can do right now is really clear emotionally and begin to make the decision to say, I'm going to be around those that are co-creating the new way of being and are showing up that way, and that I can be truthful with. Truth is so important right now. Honesty and truth, and not sugarcoating things, saying how it is, because the sugarcoating kept people disempowered. And we don't have the time for it anymore. It's not, we need that faster frequency that says, boom, what do you see in me? Okay, yeah, oh, I see that. Or you're doing that loop again, you're caught in that game. And that's how we help each other. That's what a true healer is. It doesn't have to be in session. It's, are we being that way with each other? Are we being honest with each other so that we create the avenues and the structure and the system for all of us to reside in? That's whole new paradigm is based on, I say it's moving out of consumerism into creativism. It's moving into being the creator being that we are, and owning that, and being comfortable and confident of how we're manifesting, how we're expressing and experiencing on this dimension, on this planet, and recognizing that we're multidimensional beings, and not being shy about talking about that. So things like less censoring, really getting to the truth of the matter, understanding that on this earth plane we have emotions. They're the carrier wave, energy and motion. Nothing gets put into existence unless there's emotion there, whether it's trauma or exhilaration. Nothing, there has to be enough emotional charge or juice there to have something to manifest, or and to take hold and to stay. And the less juice, the more neutrality, or the more it gets boring, the more that people don't want something or need something, it begins to dissipate. So that's a very good point for our wonderful participants, because I feel your energy. You're not just listening, you're here. Is we need to stop participating, be abreast of things that are going on, but move away from participating in what's draining you or dragging you down or isn't the truth. And to stop trying to get people to see, friends or family, that you're trying to help them, or you have the understanding, or you have the way, or if they're not there, you need to let them be, because we're encoded. Everybody's encoded with their time of waking up. And that's another thing. The awakening is not happening specifically religiously. It's within us. I get a lot of people say, well, do I have to follow a spiritual practice, or it's spiritual awakening? That's one kind of awakening. The part of the converging flow is the awakening is happening in all sectors, all systems of thought. So it's happening individually with everyone in their own time. Some people are not necessarily meant to awaken or awaken fully, and they will not be in the new paradigm. They won't be in the new world. And you see that with some people, and probably some of you are saying, yeah, there's, my husband, my wife, my friend, my love, whatever, family member, I can't be around them anymore. What I can say, you will be again once your vibrational frequency is stabilized enough. For now, there's certain people that you don't have to cut off from, but you just don't engage. You don't try to help. You don't try to coax along. You let go, and you see, where are you being guided? Where are you spiritually where's your spiritual energy guiding you or nudging you? What are the flashes of insight that you're getting? What are the messages that you're getting through your dreams? That's what you need to be focused on right now. Your creative endeavors, how you want to share. Some people call it service, but you could say to share. Really, on this planet, this has been the whole joke. You're not here for some learning lesson or you did something wrong. You simply were here to express and experience as soul. That's the individuated aspect of God, or the all that is the soul. So learning is a byproduct, but some people learn more than others. Some people, you know, need a lot of perhaps negative situations or non-life enhancing situations to move on from something that's no longer life enhancing. I say if you look at yourself more as nature, nature always has within it to do what is most life enhancing, which causes thriving. That's what we're meant to do. So if you make the decisions in your life right now that allow you to thrive more, allow you to celebrate your uniqueness, which is your soul, and your gifts, put you in places to share. Like I was so excited. This, my soul loves this. I was like, yes, this is part of my soul path. I love this. The more that you're doing that, the more you're going to be soul connected and align more to your soul. That alone will begin to not only change your world, but it's going to up-level your vibrational frequency. You're going to be operating more through the subtle energy and less through the denser energy of things like fear or apathy or chronic anger. But it does take listening. You have to take the time, and we hopefully have some time. I want to do an attunement process meditation so we can revel in that, step into that. Yeah.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
I'm loving what you're saying, because you're echoing a lot of what Alexandra Metters had just said before.
Oh, really?
And even with, and I don't know if you saw Andrew Harvey.
No, I didn't. I was in session. Oh, good.
Oh, I'm so glad that what you said, and I'm sort of interrupting your flow a bit. This is your presentation, but I just wanted to mention that he came on very straightforward and very strongly, and we had this conversation about not sugarcoating things.
Oh, yeah.
And you know, just it's doing a disservice to people to say it's going to be okay. And at the same time, of course, it's in terms of the eternal soul or the infinite soul, it's going to be okay. But throughout this conference, what we've been hearing from Bruce Lipton is the sixth mass extinction of the planet. We've been hearing the end game, Alexander talking about the final hour, and yet, and this has been a pretty emotionally trying conference for me personally. But hearing all of these speakers and yourself, but at the same time, there's a lot of, in this, because Andrew Harvey caught me a bit when I said, you know, I know you can also be very inspiring, and he caught me and he said, I'm being inspiring by laying this flat out and saying it as it is and speaking with the truth and conviction. And everybody is giving the same message here, all of our presenters essentially, and being said in a different way, with a different tone, with a different type of passion or style or whatnot. So I just wanted to add that all in.
Oh, I'm glad you did. I love the confirmations like that. And I love when I don't hear other people were saying similar. The thing that I got from my guides, you know, a lot of people asked if we look politically, like who we have in the United States as in the presidency and what's going on there. And my guide said, it's not the people that aren't awake or awakening. This happened because the light workers were complacent and not really doing the deep work and, you know, spiritual bypass, you could call it. And this is part of what we've going in through since 2011 is what's called the root awakening. Yes, I feel the end game is, obviously we all know it's the end of the world as we know it. Is there going to be, you know, cataclysmic things? Yes. Are we completely going to be decimated? No, I'm not getting that message or seeing that. But there is hardship and there is more to come. There'll be less hardship when people are choosing what's the truth or what's real for them, what's really in alignment on a soul level, what connects them to their soul. And most importantly, what is of more resonance or coherence for them. This is the reason that the heart chakra, all of it's been important, but so much research and study and more known now about the heart as an organ. You know, we were so brain focused, which is great, love the brain. But the heart receives more information and processes more than we've ever thought and more than the brain. And there's a conversation between the head and the heart, right? The brain and the heart as organs. So I would say one of the most important things everyone to do that are feeling these changes, and I'm going to go through a little bit of the signs, symptoms of shifting and you being gently nudged or pushed into the new paradigm because you signed up for it, you've been encoded into it, is loss of certain friendships, less tolerance for people, feeling very sensitive. Some people drinking a lot, needing a lot of water. Obviously, anything that's causing distraction is another thing. Some people needing a lot of protein. Some people dietary. So major changes. Some people that have been vegan or vegetarian, now they're needing to eat, especially red meat. Some people that were meat eaters are not. But the biggest thing is a lot of it is sleep patterns changing. So people are having less sleep. Well, I got my psychic information on this, channeled information, but then I decided, because I like to play a little game with myself when I want to do research, that the way that we sleep, this whole 8-hour thing, came about during the Industrial Revolution to train us, the entrainment, so that we could work in the factories. And it was a 9 to 5, and it also had to do with light. As a being, as a species, if you follow the biorhythms, they're 4 to 6 hours. So the whole idea that you have to sleep a certain amount of time is just not so, and that it has to be 8 hours and a certain time period. So now you can see with technology, the internet, people connecting, beyond time zones, that is a way for the all that is, the innate intelligence of the universes, to show us this is the truth of who you are. Not just multi-time zone, but multi-dimensional, multi-reality. So sleeping 4, 6 hours, 3 hours, doing what you need to do, and then going back in. Again, this is where it comes in about the soul in the new paradigm, is everyone has to see and check in with themselves what's right from themselves. I remember years ago when I was first starting my Awakening podcast, and I was doing some TV work, and then I was teaching at Agape Spiritual Center. I was teaching metaphysics and some meditation courses. There were some days that, because I was so full and busy, I slept only 2 hours, and I just put the message, let me please get what I need to get done. And I was awake and aware and on target, and it was beautiful. But the help was there because I asked for the help. I mean, I didn't get done till 3 or 4 in the morning, and then I had to be there at 9 a.m. to teach. So again, these belief systems, this entrainment that we've been kind of from the feudal days, if you look in Europe, we're having to release those because they've kept us in a bond. We began to think that this is who we are and how it is, instead of looking and saying, oh, this is a system that was created. This is a belief system that was created to make it more efficient. Now it's getting in the way when people are trying to hold on to these, because then they're telling themselves, oh, I didn't get enough sleep, or I need to do this amount of sleep, or this X, Y, and Z. Otherwise, I'm not healthy. Otherwise, something's wrong with me. And so that's just not true. People have to check in with themselves to see what's right. So one of the signs and symptoms of the awakenings and the shifting and ascending are your old ways of being no longer working. For some, it's also a time of wanting to spend more time communing with spirit, wanting to be more connected other dimensionally, also doing a lot of dream work, getting a lot of information from the dreams. The veils, there's, many of the veils have thinned. I think since 2005, I think we had 7 or 8. So we are more psychic, which comes from the Latin word soul. So there is more coming through intuitively, but that means everything comes through. Other people's pain, what they're going through. We can't have it both ways. You can't want to be open intuitively and psychically and then say, but I don't want to feel this or that. And this is why our soul tribe, our soul groups, our soul connecting is so important, because that's where we take a breath and we get our sustainability. We get to refresh, we get to nourish, we get to be felt and seen, so that when we do go out into the mainstream world or consciousness, we're replenished. Too many people, too many light workers are trying to hang out more in the mainstream and convert people and bring them over. You'll be placed by your soul, your higher self, which I call the higher self, the mediating intelligence between the little self and our expanded aspect of being, or the innate intelligence of the all that is. or God, whatever term you want to use. So yes, the rude awakening that we're in, and I so agree with what you were saying that apparently Andrew Harvey said, is that it's enabling, it's codependent, it's a disservice, whatever why are we hiding our truth, right, everyone? Why are you hiding your truth? Don't hide your truth. If you're a light worker, you're a light being, you're aware, you know when someone's going through a wrong path or caught in a loop. Call it what it is. Say you're not being honest with yourself. Don't sit there and enable and say, oh, I don't want to say anything, it's not spirit, I didn't want to get into it, I'll just pray about it. This is the time that we speak, and that is very much in the new paradigm, is the ability to be able to go to that octave, that higher octave, meaning that a lot of the inner child work is done. That third chakra, which interfaces is into the earth plane, which is essentially is us expressing individually as ourselves. When enough of that is healed, you not only speak your truth, but you live it. You're living more expressively. You are living in the way that acknowledges and affirms and confirms to you that you are a co-creator of this wonderful experience and expression. So absolutely, some of you, the intolerance is that you don't want to lie to yourself and to others anymore. And what I want to say, it might not come out nicely, but it's okay. It's better for it to come out. No more sugarcoating. Just say what it is and stand by your truth. Be in your truth. That's the oneness, is being in the truth. It's not perpetuating the lies anymore.
Standing in your power.
Yes.
Being the warrior. Yes. Yes.
That is love. That is the ultimate. That is being that warrior, is being loved, because you're right, loving yourself.
That's what we were talking about. You're being loving by telling the person that you're acting out a behavior that's destroying yourself, or the planet for that matter, which is what we're, this is about the micro and the macro, your personal controversies and the controversies of the world. So we're, playing it out in the world, our inner landscape. So, yeah.
Absolutely. And so I feel you're going to find, I think one of the questions you asked, how does this change us? It changes us to be more empowered, but more authentically us, and not hide our gifts because we don't want to perceivably outshine someone or call someone on something. It is about living from that ultimate truth and transparency that, hey, I always say there's no grand poobahs, nobody's done. We're all working, doing our own healing work, our own clearing work. I just know, as being more awake and aware, that it's not reflecting my consciousness of the totality of who and what I am, the macrocosm of who I am. And it's fun. It's a game. I think that's a big part of the new paradigm. It's a game, that's why my new website is soulplayground.life. It's a game. See, we took it too seriously, and that things meant something, and on some level they do, and some levels they don't. We're experimenting, we're playing, we're co-creating. Some things work, some things don't. That's another thing. What I want to share for a lot of you at this point, you may be trying to hold on to dreams that really meant a lot for you, or goals or decisions that really are not life enhancing for you, and you really don't have the passion, but you don't know what else to do. You need to hang out a little bit into that void, into the feminine, not the masculine so much of doing. One of the things that's happening right now in the shift is that the earth plane, the earth is becoming more magnetic, and there's a lot of fear around that. Or rather, is becoming more electrical. Sorry, we're becoming more magnetic, and so there was a lot of fear of that. That's why there's a lot more of the not necessarily weather situations that are happening. So we can't stay as electrical as we were before. We need to be more magnetic as the earth is becoming less magnetic. We need to take that. And the reason being is the more that we're magnetic, the more we're opening to the impulses and the impressions of the all that is, the collective, creator, source energy. Those source energies that we're connected to, infinite source energies, the resonant fields, morphogenic fields, the resonant fields that we are. That's where we're getting our information and our insight. If we stay too electrical, then we're staying too much into the constructed ego of what's happened before, and we're more in the doing instead of being and allowing and receiving. That's one of the reasons these gateways are happening for November, and then again in May. We just came out of one that was just earth shattering for many people. You know, a lot of things were blown up for a lot of people, literally and figuratively. And you'll see, since 2005, we have had more events, you know, in air, fire, wind, and water. We've had more climatical events. We've had more, you know, shootings. We've had more, and if you look, they tend to fall right in those two gateways, because most people don't know, they're not doing their inner work. They don't know that, oh, we're getting extra energy on the planet right now. And a lot of people can't handle that. They're getting the same, more the mainstream or race consciousness is getting the same amount of energy on them through that aperture, through that gateway portal of light. And they're reacting to it. It's bringing stuff up, but they don't have the container. They don't have the processes. They don't have the understanding of what's going on. They don't have the support systems. This is why, as sensitives and light workers and those starseed, those of us that have come in, we have to move into the place of really living it, not part-time, but being it completely, living this completely, not only when we're in session or when we're with our friends, but all the time. That's what's going to really cause more of the shifting, as more of us are actually living it out, which the big part is being truthful with yourself and with others, you know, not dimming your light. That, because when we're not being truthful, we're dimming our light.
Michelle, that's such an important point.
Yes.
I love that you say you have to do this 24 hours a day. I love that you say that. It's just so beautiful. And living in your heart all the time, and perhaps also being mindful all the time. You know, it's possible to go through life in a meditative way, contemplating everything from a position of heart and kindness and love.
And every presenter that's been on this conference, I believe, is living, I know, excuse me, is living from the heart in the way that they do it. And yeah.
Confirmation, goosebumps.
Yeah.
Right? It's the heart, and that was so scary, and you couldn't really do that as much in the old paradigm. But it's so required now, because the heart is getting to the heart of the matter. The higher self comes through there with the passion. In fact, one of the things that I can share with everyone when you're making decisions to know if it's the right decision for you or right timing is, your heart, your chest will actually open a little bit. The heart chakra will actually open a little bit. If you're making decisions and your voice goes down, or I know I should call, yeah, I know I should do that. And you see how I'm kind of caving in a little? And it can be, for some people, it can be quite pronounced, and some people it's very subtle. But anything that's life enhancing and alignment with your soul, connecting your soul and aligning you to your soul and your soul path, you'll feel open, and the heart will open. You'll feel it in the heart. You'll feel energized. Even if it's something scary, something new, something you haven't done before, you'll feel that openness. If you feel that you're withdrawing or getting smaller in your decisions, whether it's about a person, a relationship, a job. I had something the other day, and you know, all the people, my team, they've all done a lot of inner work and they've worked with me. And this was last year. I was doing some workshops, and I did one, and it was okay. There's kind of some drama with the person, but I thought, okay, they're new. I let it go. And then they wanted me to do again, and I was talking to one of my assistants about it, and apparently I was getting very monotone in my voice. And I was like, yeah, it's a good thing. And she piped right up, and she says, one of my great teachers told me, if your voice starts getting low and your energy starts getting drained, that means it's not the right choice. And I went, oh my God, you're right. I felt so much better. I thought, yeah, I don't need to do this anymore. I did this in the night. I'm woo. And it was over. And since from that, some other amazing projects came in, I think even within the week. So it lowers our vibrational frequency or complex of frequency and our wavelength. It lowers us vibrationally, lowers our resonance to our soul when we keep making choices or decisions or doing things too much that are not in alignment. You know, I mean, there's always going to be something you don't particularly want to do, but when you're living your life more doing things that you don't want to do, that you think you should do, or someone told you should do, or you're in competition with other people or other people in competition with you, that's going to lower your vibrational frequency, and you're not going to be able to hear the messages, you know, through the higher self to get to.
And this
That's
is all
really
true.
good advice.
Yeah, and this is all true. Being an investigator, I studied nonverbal communication and body language, and what you're talking about is true. You will see this, and that's indicative of the things you're saying.
Interesting. So you would see, oh, that's interesting. So you would see it as an investigator, people kind of,
You know, you opening or, you know, closing or whatnot, the lowering and raising of a person's vibration based on their body language. Yes.
interesting.
Michelle, you told us that you wanted to do an attunement. We have a little bit less than 10 minutes left. Is that enough for us to do? I'd love for you to do that.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So what we're going to be doing is connecting in through the subtle energy, so we can feel our interconnectedness to each other and the all that is. So if you close your eyes, you can keep it open, but I'm going to close my eyes. And what I want you to do is just bring your awareness to the left side of your body, so that even though the eyes are closed, you're going to feel the left side of your body. And then you're going to extend your attention and focus to the left as far as you can. Just keep extending so that you're literally going out of the denser frequency of your physical body into the subtle energy. And you might even be able to feel some other energies or beings around you. So just take a breath. And as you release the breath, just extend your attention and focus all the way to the left as far as you can, as far as you need to, as far as you want. And now you're going to bring your attention and focus to the right side of the body. Again, feel the denser energy of the right side of the body. Call this the gross, subtle energy, slower moving. And now extend your attention and focus all the way to the right, as far as you can, as far as you need to, as far as you want. Now bring your attention and focus to the back of your body. Really connect into the back of the body, the denser physical body. And now extend your attention and focus all the way behind you, as far as you need to, as far as you want to. Extend your attention and awareness behind you, all the way behind you. Now bring your attention and focus to the lower half of the body, and extend your attention and focus down as far as you can, down and out, down into the earth, middle earth. Keep extending. And now bring your attention and focus to the top of the head. And now you're going to extend your attention and focus above you, as far as you can, as far as you need to, as far as you want to. Keep extending upward and outward. And now bring your attention and focus to the front of the body. Feel the energy there. And extend your attention and focus in front of you, as far as you can, as far as you need to, as far as you want to. Keep extending. And now extend your attention and focus all around you. Just feel the subtle energy. Gently nudge, gently pull. Just extend, so your attention and focus is beyond the denser physical body. Now you're going to bring your attention and focus back to the top of the head, the crown chakra. Take a breath, and as you breathe out, you're going to extend your attention and focus above 3 feet, 6 feet, 8 feet, till you feel a natural pause point. And breathe into that pause point and begin to focus there. Some of you may see an image, a star, a symbol. You might feel more light. You might feel tingling at the top of your head, the crown chakra. So you're connecting in here through the higher self to the soul self, that design, that template. The soul is the uniqueness, the individuated aspect of the all that is that you are. And you're here to live that soul design, that soul purpose, to shine bright ever in your expression and experience in the soul playground. You're here to shine your light, to share your insight, to bring your understanding, to share your unique gifts and talents with the world. Keep extending up. If you feel your energy collapsing in, take a breath. As you breathe out, extend upward and outward until you feel a natural pause point, and then center there. And breathe into that pause point where you feel the light. This is where you're going to get more undiluted energy, going into source energies that you are. You are an expression and experience of source energies in form, and that form is changing. It's from this place you understand it's beyond a place and space. You are consciousness made manifest, experiencing and expressing through the heart divine. Take a couple deep breaths. It's from this place you can set your intention for what you need right now in your path, to be open to receive through the higher self, connecting to the soul, becoming more and more soul aligned, to live in perfect resonance, coherence, and harmony, to do what you came here to do easily and effortlessly. And you see, we are all interconnected. We are not apart. We are a part of each other, each reflecting a different aspect of being, each and every one of us needed and necessary at this time to draw in and birth through the energies of the new emerging consciousness, creating this new paradigm. Wow. So much love.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. That was very powerful. And yeah, I did have some imagery actually. I saw a pyramid initially, and then I saw a Christmas tree for whatever reason. And then I sort of went into some other sort of place, which was sort of just very, I don't know.
Sounds like all your Christmases came at once.
Which was kind of odd because I had put out a quote with an image of a boy with Santa Claus not about a week ago, and it said, "It's nice to believe," and it was sort of a sarcastic quote. You know, it's nice to believe. We all want to believe, and beliefs are just beliefs. But I guess maybe I was wrong. Maybe you can believe in certain things, and it's
I think so.
Maybe I'm
Beautiful.
I'm not always right. You know.
I think so. I think we can update our beliefs too, but I think to believe is beautiful. To believe in each other, to believe in spirit, to believe that we're meant to be here. I think there's definitely life-enhancing belief.
So maybe in that attunement that you just did, I was getting a little bit of correction from higher self on that particular post, when I do my posts and when I write, my writing is for myself, and so it's just a form of self-expression, not necessarily for other people, but just for me, and so I write what I write. And at that moment, that's what came up. And I said, it's nice to believe, isn't it? A little boy looking out the window with Santa Claus flying out across the moon. You know, we all like to believe in fairy tales or anything, or round earth, flat earth, hollow earth, whatever it happens to be that you like to believe. They're all beliefs. But beliefs do have their place.
Yeah. I guess. Well put. I think a lot of people needed to hear that about the believing, but it's what we believe in. You know? We believe in all of us. You know, this connecting, how important this is, has been, to connect like this.
Well, this certainly is showing unity. It's showing, you know, that everyone that's come together here, because they often talk, I've said this before, that people talk about the spiritual community being splintered, and, you know, and at least we are showing that we are unified as a collective in this place and time, which is very important.
Great show of solidarity.
Yes.
Well, it sounds like that some of the information here is some of the more advanced, because I would agree. I think there's some old kind of information, and maybe that's not so empowering, or it's just old stuff. You know, it's just like, you know, we're updating our inner and outer software, and so we're not using the same stuff we did in the 80s or 90s. It was good. So I think maybe that's the shifting, is people that are being more honest and straightforward, and also saying, hey, I'm still working on myself. I still do this pattern tripped me up, you know, and we're doing this together. I think that is That's the separating out.
That's a good insight and comment about the paradigm shift, as what the nature of the paradigm shift part of it might be.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, you don't want anybody that's arrived already and done. You know, we're still marinating. We're still unfolding because that limits us, right?
I know I am.
I'm still unfolding. I don't want to be done. I'm unfolding, and it's getting more and more and more aware. And I think the people that feel they're done or they made a certain level and they're
and it's certainly on Portal to Ascension, we do have a lot of, people, as Neil, founder, and Peter, as founder of Portal Ascension, would say, they have very sophisticated, intelligent, philosophical, an audience that's sort of done the self-help stuff of the 80s and the 90s and all the self-help books and workshops, and they're very interested in hearing it, the more powerful, deeper, that's been given on this conference.
Cutting edge spiritual technology.
Yes. And this conference, this has been a very successful conference as far as I'm concerned, in terms of the quality of the information that's been presented by all of you. And it's really just amazing. I'm really impressed and very thankful to you and to everyone.
I'm just pleased, blessed, and thankful that I could be a part of this and that you asked me to. And it's a lot to organize, I know, and do something like this, but I really feel a lot of gratitude for being a part of it. I just knew it was going to be great. I just knew.
It is, it's on a Tuesday, so, I'm not sure about the turnout at this moment, but I can't, everything's just gone. It's been excellent. It was well worth it.
Energetically, just to see you both and to connect energetically, and to also hear. I always like the confirmations, like, oh, so and so saying a lot of the similar stuff, because I use that on my podcast. I'll be, look, I'm not the only one saying this or doing this. There's other people. Stop putting around. Stop sugarcoating. Come on.
And it's great how and it's great how it all came together, because I know a lot of the presenters here don't know each other or of each other necessarily, and it's great, and it's just great, the personalities that have come on here and just said what they've had to say. And I like the diversity, because the diversity, it's not so diverse. The basic message is the same, and I didn't know, maybe I'm not sure what I expected with this conference and what I expected people to say.
We've been getting a lot of
this has been amazing for me.
Information.
Yes. This has been amazing for us.
Maybe on your page, put the message, what you've gotten distilled. Because to me, that's the truth. That's the new. There's some of us that are on the forefront, and we're saying some things that a lot of people aren't, maybe from the past understanding, especially the truth and the sugarcoating thing. When I started coming out with that, I got a lot of resistance on that, and even callers would call on the show. My energy, and I'm like, you got to say it how it is. Why are you dimming your light? That's basically what you're doing. We can't be truthful with each other. How can we live together and co-create this new paradigm of truth and interconnectedness if we can't be truthful with each other? If we can't, then it's not going to work. I'm
really glad you said that, and that does seem to be a consistent message for everyone.
Yes.
And it's interesting. And I guess I felt a bit. I sometimes do feel a bit like, I want to play neutral in a certain way as a radio show host. I don't, I don't. I have my. I do, but that's me being authentic in a certain way. I don't like negative talk. About people, and that's my way. I don't think it serves me well to do that. That doesn't mean that I don't think other people should speak their mind exactly the way they feel they need to in a constructive way, so
I think there's ways to do it. It's just being truthful. Like if you don't agree with something, and you're like, I'll get off kind of on my little soapbox, little rants, and the listeners, oh, there Michelle goes again, but they like it because it's truthful. Because I don't want people to be caught in a loop. I don't want to put out information that's disempowering,
yes,
or having people be attacked. Yes, I have tools, I have great, I love what I do, so yeah, of course, but I don't want to say that it has to be this way or that way, because it just doesn't. There's a lot of ways. I know there's something not to do, but.
I mean, I'm not one to knock people down. That's not my way. I don't knock people down.
Yeah,
I think people,
but
I don't want to avoid the issues either. So,
right.
You know.
And I guess that's one of the messages of this conference, is not to avoid the issues, especially the issues that are endangering the planet.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and I guess, and that's what I'm saying. The truth is not to avoid the issues. And if it's on your plate or in front of you, or someone's asking your opinion, or you have to speak up, and maybe you're in a group, and the group consensus is really not being life enhancing and misinformed. The old paradigm would just kind of not say anything, kind of keep the peace. The new paradigm says, well, actually, that's not my truth, or that's not what I've seen, or you need to do research, or whatever you need to do. But I've done it in regards to some teachers too. People ask my opinion, and if I do know something particular, I don't go into detail. I'm like you, I don't want to have to put people down, but I want to make sure that people are being empowered.
And I think that's where the idea of a light spiritual warrior comes in.
Yes.
So
it's the way I choose my words. I may not say someone's a psychotic nut, but I'm certainly going to say, yes, you did murder that animal or that person. That is what you did, and you need to accept that and fix that within yourself. And you may not be able to undo that situation. But yeah, it's a lot of signaling.
But the main thing is to be truthful. And like Lana was saying, not avoid the issues.
Yes. Thank you very much, Michelle. Lovely to have you.
Thank you so much.